A priestess approaches sex from innocence, from purity. A priestess realizes the great mystery. A slave performs. And this is where our ancient trauma comes in. Because now what has been reaffirmed by porn in this lifetime is something that is deeply ingrained in us. Because if you hold priestess codes, you certainly, my dear, hold codes of the prostitute. Yo, welcome, loves. I know it's been a while. I've been really immersed in my rebirth container with my beautiful women there, but she's back. And guess what? You know, when that notebook comes out, it's about to go down. We're diving into one of the most vital topics today. And I know the title is a bit daring. Stop having sex like a slave and have sex like a priestess. But it's true. It's not just clickbaity. You will see why that is essential. And if you've watched some of my videos before this one, you know that this channel is my love letter to the Empress embodiment. And as the Empress, we are the embodiment of the priestess, of the shamani, of the superior creator, all of it. So sex is a really, really vital component, and it's the arena of life that holds oftentimes the most programming, the most soul torture, and the most trauma. So we're going deep today. We're going deep. And, you know, if I'm going to use my hands a little more often than usual, it's because your girl got her nails done for the first freaking time in my life. Like, I know it's kind of ridiculous and it's also really cute, but I've been just so like, I just do so much with my hands. And I was always like, first of all, I was really frugal and I'm like, well, I don't need it. But now I realize I did need it because I'm exploring a whole new personality. She's sassy. She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't take shit. Like, I like it. If you've never had your nails done, yo, invest the money. It is worth it. It is worth it. So yeah. And again, I was always so, I massage a lot and I do a lot of body work. But this month I was kind of off. So I'm like, I want to try this. And yeah, I don't know if I can go back to my little shorties. But well, okay, we'll see. That's totally off topic. But my ladies, you get what I'm saying. So I'm gonna start you off with some philosophical foreplay because this topic is quite deep. We live in a dualistic reality. And what that means is mind over matter. I'm not speaking about the dualistic reality of good and evil, but mind over matter, meaning there is a reality that is eternal, that is the reality of being, that is the reality beyond space and time. And then there's the reality of becoming. It's the reality of the body. It's the reality of matter and time and space. And so one controls the other, meaning that the state, the realm, the reality of being controls this physical reality beyond our saying. So we have very little control over this experience. And I'm going to give you a little practical example, but it really clarifies that. On my birthday, we had this really fancy dinner planned. Like, I'm a tomboy. I like to be in nature, but I also like to get, fancy and dressed up. So we booked a table at the nicest restaurant in Sedona. And, I got all ready. I got all cute. And in my mind, right, I prepared this whole night. And to me, it was just intimate conversations with my man, foreplay on the table, right? It was just this perfect night. And the moment I got ready, we got in the car and, I was planning a pleasurable night. I was programming the night with the expectation of pleasure. But then somehow the vibe was a little off, and there was some sort of distance between me and him. And we got into this restaurant, and even though it's a freaking nice restaurant, somehow we got the shittiest table. And the atmosphere was kind of like the nicest Applebee you've ever seen, but it wasn't what I imagined. So then me and him, we were kind of like, I don't know, I look cute, so I wanted him to take a picture. And it was awkward, right? And I asked him, I'm like, yo, what's up here? Like, something's in between us. And the whole night really didn't go as planned. And then, as like the cherry on top, we both got sick from our fancy ass $300 dinner. So yeah, that was the night. And if we had control, this would have been an experience of pleasure. But because we live in a dualistic reality, we don't have control. So it's kind of pointless to expect something. Now, I've gotten really good at seeing things for just what they are. And like, if you're really close with me, my friends always make fun of that because they're like, oh, Melissa's just like, let's see where it goes. And that's really me. I'm just like, at this point, I've went through so much pain, so much heartbreak, so many, just situations that didn't turn out the way I expected it. At a certain point, you get really good at riding the wave of mystery. So I took the night for what it is, which is a shamanic medicine portal. We don't get what we expect, but we get whatever the mystery wants you to receive. And now my question is, why would that be different for sex? Right? This night, this birthday dinner, I expected pleasure, but in the end, I enter the great mystery. Anytime we enter a journey, we enter a shamanic medicine portal, and we don't know what we get. We might want pleasure, but we might get a different lesson. So the best attitude and the greatest ascended attitude is neutrality. Okay, I have no idea. Beautiful restaurant, fancy dinner, nice dress, sounds really good, but in the end, could be the shittiest night ever. So let's just see. I'm entering with curiosity and neutrality to see what life wants to give me, what life wants to show me. Now, sex is the most potent shamanic medicine portal we could ever enter. But somehow when it comes to sex, we have connected sex with pleasure. So anytime we enter this experience, we enter it with a program of this has to be pleasurable. And I did a video a couple months ago where I said something like, I'm going to divorce sex and I'm marrying pleasure. Today, I'm going to divorce pleasure and I'm going to marry the great mystery. Because the greatest mistake we can make is putting an experience, putting a shamanic medicine portal into a box and tell ourselves that's what we can experience. Anything else is not allowed. Because when we do that, we numb ourselves to the full experience, right? We erase the truth of the experience and we try to control something so much so that it fits into the box. And in the case of sex, it's like the box of pleasure. If it's not pleasurable, well, then it's not allowed. And that makes absolutely no sense. And that's why we started off with this little philosophical foreplay, because I really want us to realize how programmed this is and how ridiculous this is to think that sex is only pleasure or mostly pleasure. Everything in life is here to evolve you. Every situation you enter, if you enter it with the awareness of, okay, this is going to be my shamanic medicine portal. I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know how it's going to be. It might be pleasurable, it might be immensely painful, it might be ecstatic, it might be absolutely mundane. I don't know, but I'm going to go in there with curiosity. If you hold that awareness for every situation in your life, you will have by far the most richest life experience ever. And you will actually be able to experience something for what it is, rather than programming your expectations on it and miss 90% of the experience because you only allow the 10% of your programming into this experience. So I hope this makes sense. And when we enter divine union, when we make love, what happens here is the phallus is the key. Okay, I know men have been trained and programmed to use their phallus as a freaking weapon, but it's not. It's a divine key. And our flower, our uterus, is the lock. When we allow our genitals to come together without force, but we allow them to do what they want to do, if we allow our genitals to move us rather than us moving our genitals, we are opening a door. The phallus is the key, the uterus, our flower, is the lock. And we don't know what's behind that door, okay? We have no control over this. Once we open that door, this is the great mystery. We've opened a shamanic medicine portal. Now, a lot of us think we open the door and what we find is pleasure, but that just couldn't be further from the truth. What's beyond that door is not in our control. It might be primal, animalistic ecstasy. It might be the greatest depth of pain that you've ever experienced. It might be blissfully sublime. It might be super pleasurable, right? It could be all of the above. But the fact is, we don't know what kind of portal we are entering to when we decide to make love. And even the expression itself, to make love. Let's sit with this for a second. Because when we have sex, we come together with the volition to create love in the field. We literally have the power to create more love on this planet as our two bodies merge. Now, what that means is that's alchemy, which means that everything that isn't love will have to fall away. Right? It's like when you heal, when you ascend in vibration, when you raise your frequency through healing, devotion, sacred work, deep work, diligence, okay? This is not some fluff. When we do the deep work, all of the shadows arise, right? Because we purify. And the same happens when we make love. We literally create a purified field, which means that everything that isn't in this frequency will naturally come up in that field. Do you see how programmed it is for us to think that this only causes pleasure? That making love is only pleasurable, when making love is an alchemical container where everything that is not love is transmuted into love? Do you see how deep this goes? You are a cleaner. You're here to clean up the planet. You're here to heal, to clean. And so as a cleaner, you're not going to have just a mediocre sexual experience. You're going to have a very profound sexual experience. And you are probably someone that can feel so deep. So for us to be programmed into this belief system that only pleasure is the outcome is detrimental. If you look at it for what it is, the highest outcome of making love, of this divine union, is to create a new life. And as I mentioned, we are cleaners. So when we come together to potentially create new life, we have the massive responsibility to clear this gateway so life is safe for this new being. So if we come together to make love, we potentially clear anything that is harmful, any harmful frequencies, any bloodline trauma, any distortions that are still lingering in our field. This is the alchemical container to clear all of this. So the gateway for this new life that we're creating is clear and it's clean. And so this is why this is so sacred. Because as a cleaner, and you are one, it is a big responsibility. And this is also why a lot of religions preach don't have sex before marriage. Now, they don't explain it well, right? They don't explain how profound sex truly is. But if we understood what's actually going on there, we would probably be a lot more careful who we sleep with, or in the past, at least, we would have made a lot of different decisions. Because now that you see, you open this door and you don't know what's behind it, it also makes sense that when you come together with someone and it's a one-night stand, or it's someone that you don't feel 100% comfortable with, you will immediately go into performance. If we don't know how to sit with our pain, we're not going to allow us to go as deep, because we might find terror, pain, and ancient devastation behind that door. So it does make sense that we numb ourselves to the totality of what sex is, and we kind of train ourselves to experience this little like ball of pleasure. Or, if we don't feel pleasure, we can still perform. We can still fake it. In that, you are creating a very mundane experience when sex is the greatest mystery of life itself. And that you're robbing yourself of one of the greatest experiences ever due to this programming and due to false information. And this is where we touch the next big issue, which is performance. Porn in this lifetime is, again, it's immensely demonic. And don't assume that the people in the porn industry don't know what they're doing and what they're siphoning or what portals they're opening. Some might not know what they're doing, but I am very certain that the people higher up are very aware of what porn is doing to the civilization. And I'm very certain that there is an agenda behind that. And so what porn does, it's reaffirming a trauma that is already within our system. So now in this lifetime, porn has been programming an experience of what sex is over and over and over again. Like for a lot of us, literally burning scenes into our cerebral cortex so that we have this very clear idea of what sex is, right? This, okay, I'm gonna suck his dick for 15 minutes. He's gonna eat me out for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna penetrate, and then we're gonna do doggy, and then he's gonna come, and that's it. How disgusting is that? Not because any of these things are disgusting, but sex and making love is the greatest mystery of life. And if we are able to surrender to it, we might open the doors to planetary healing, the ascension of the body, light body evolution, healing of DNA and bloodline, and bliss beyond imagination. Like if we approach sex as the greatest mystery it is from a childlike perspective, we have no idea what might be behind this door. And I personally really believe that porn has deliberately closed these doors for us, because certain people are aware how powerful it is if we come together in childlike innocence and purity, and we allowed our bodies to guide us rather than allowing images that run our mind to guide our sex. So now in this lifetime, porn has programmed this certain picture of what sex is into all of our like systems. And that's straight up soul torture. So it takes a bit to get rid of this, right? I still catch myself performing at times. I still catch myself get into my head. I still catch myself going into robotic motions. And it's disgusting because it's numb, right? Anytime I go numb, I go immediately into performance. And I see the same thing happening to men, right? They have the certain performance pressure, or they have certain expectations that might serve the purpose of a quick satisfaction, but it's not actually serving their heart and their soul. So we're all in this mess together. And that's what I mean when I say stop having sex like a slave and have sex like a priestess, because a priestess approaches sex from innocence, from purity. A priestess realizes the great mystery. A slave performs. And this is where our ancient trauma comes in. Because now what has been reaffirmed by porn in this lifetime is something that is deeply ingrained in us. Because if you hold priestess codes, you certainly, my dear, hold codes of the prostitute, you hold cords of the courtesan, the concubine. And we literally had to perform for the sake of our life. Okay? This is programmed into a lot of our DNA. So we had to serve the royal court, or we had to serve certain people. And if the master wasn't pleased with us, we would have literally been thrown out and sent into a whorehouse, or sent out into the streets and would have been raped by whatever warriors or soldiers. Or back then, we were the slave to our husband. And if we didn't please our man, we would have been beaten, or we would have been replaced, right? Then the whole religious trauma. If you don't have sex with your man, if you don't please your man, you're not a good wife. So all of this is so deeply ingrained in us. And just because that's not in the forefront of your mind, it's still somewhere in our DNA. And so then porn has reaffirmed this in this lifetime. So we immediately go into performance, because if we don't feel pleasure, we start to feel guilty. And again, for many ancient lifetimes, pleasure wasn't even on the table. This wasn't for us, right? This was performance. This was to please someone else, whatever it took, right? And our life was on the line, or our health was on the line. So this goes deep. So be really, really compassionate with yourself, because this might take a little bit of time or awareness to break this pattern, to break this habit. And I know a lot of us have been working on this, but I'm just bringing this up to go deeper and share with us where this is coming from, because this runs deep. And in that, it's vital for your man to be on the same page with you. Because if your man has certain expectations, or if your man isn't aware of what sex truly is, you now have this pressure, or you can feel the underlying pressure of, well, why can't we just have sex normally? Like, why can't we just do this and this and this, and then that's that? That's his programming speaking. That's not what he actually wants to experience. Just like you, his soul craves the purity of this experience. His soul craves the great mystery. But again, like I said, we're all in the same boat. We've all have been programmed. So this also takes you to initiate your man if he's not aware of it, and really sit down and get to the bottom of it. And I'm really glad, because a lot more male figures start talking about porn addiction and how detrimental it is, and how much soul torture it is for men as well. I saw this interview with this entrepreneur, and like, props to him, like, for being this vulnerable and honest, man. A lot of respect for him. But he literally shared that he was addicted to porn. Like, honestly, most of us at some point. I've definitely been there, and I think all men have been there. But he kept watching porn, and it was like on the same day of his wedding, he still watched porn. And so on his wedding night, he was replaying the scenes of the porn he just watched, and he couldn't get it up for his wife. And he shared that on a podcast, and I'm like, yo, massive respect. But he was devastated, right? So this is not just men are the evil ones that are addicted to porn. Like, that's, again, it's soul torture. So I'm really happy that a lot of male figures are bringing so much awareness to this and are speaking out in the public about this. I also want us to be aware of certain influencers, right? We oftentimes look into the sex coaching arena, and I'm sure you know these sex coaches. I've definitely followed a lot of them in the past, and there's this, right? You know, there's this little bit of a seductive vibe to it, and pleasure codes and royal codes. That shit is fake. It's a distortion. And anytime someone presents sex that way, there's somewhat of a distortion in the field, because that's not true sensuality. There's something seductive here. There's something that's not fully authentic here. I want to address Psalm Isadora. I don't know if you remember her, but she was the tantric teacher, and she had this vibe to her, and she was tantalizing. But that's the word, tantalizing. She was so magnetic, right? And everything she would say, she was just, you felt like she was embodied pleasure. But that was a distortion. She actually took her life. And I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she was pretty big for a while. And then she committed suicide. Sex is not only pleasurable, it's a shamanic medicine portal. And I want us to bring authenticity to it. And that's why I'm speaking about it, because it's so vital. And there was so much guilt connected to that for me, where I needed someone who can really create a safe space. Someone who's like, yo, even if you cry and you shake for an hour and you need some terror, I got you, baby girl. I got you, my woman. I'm here, right? That takes a certain kind of man to create this space. And if you don't have that man on your side yet, either initiate your man to become that, or really explore for yourself first. But I want you to realize that everything and anything could happen, and there is nothing wrong with you, because the moment we surrender to the great mystery, everything that is not in a highest frequency will be purged eventually, because we're making love, we're creating love, and all that is not love will have to go, and it's transmuted in this very container of sex, of making love. Your inner child always knew, because think about the way you perceived sex when you were a child, right? It was the greatest ineffable mystery of life. You couldn't comprehend what that is. You're like, oh my God, how are babies made, right? And there was this great mystery connected to it. It was something so out of this world, not because your inner child was naive, but because your inner child could actually perceive the potential in us coming together and merging in union. Your inner child always knew. And I believe that 99.9% of us haven't even touched or tasted the surface of what's possible when we truly let go and we let God in this experience, and we truly let our body guide us, and we let our genitals guide us. Let's see what wants to transpire here, what wants to happen. That's also why when we had our first time, we're like, yo, this is what I've been waiting for since I'm 6 years young. Like, this is what I dreamt of every single night. This, like, what the fuck? Right? Because we were so insecure or shy, and maybe we watched a lot of porn, to get ready or whatsoever, or we heard a lot of stories and all we did was do some performance act. Like, I mean, at least every story that I know. But that is not sex. So let's delete everything we know about it and enter with grace and divinity into the shamanic medicine portal and see what arises. This is why with one night stands, it's really not about the promiscuity or the moral aspect, right? Melissa is like, you go girl, do your thing. But my soul knows better. My soul knows that in this just loose sexual affair, you probably won't have that deep trust that is needed. And I'm not saying that's true for everyone, because I've also heard stories where women are totally able to let go for the first time in their life with someone that they just met, right? Maybe you have a very aware man that can hold or create a really powerful shamanic container, right? That might be the case. But let's say that usually a man that you meet and a man that's open to one night stands is not that kind of man. And I hope that this was helpful. This topic means so much to me, and it's really part of my life journey and part of my life purpose to reveal truth around sex and bring more authenticity into it. Because again, I'm the priestess, and with that I hold the prostitute archetype as well, and the tantrika archetype. So for a lot of you, like all the women I work with honestly hold these archetypes. So if you're watching this and you're somehow resonating with this content, you hold priestess codes. But there's also the opposite of the coin to that. And we have to transmute these ancient wounds. And for that, becoming aware of it is literally 95% of the work. Because once awareness is brought into it, we've now brought neutrality. We brought the highest form of frequency, highest form of consciousness, which is pure awareness. And that in itself will make the shift. So before I leave, if you want to dive deeper with me and you want to spend a whole month with me, I've created a program that I'm actually really proud of, because it goes much deeper than I first intended it to be. And it's a superior creation initiation, which means we're going to bring a manifestation momentum into your life. We're going to move you from idea, feeling, desire to the actualization. And in these 30 days, there is a lesson every single day. It's over 10 hours of content. So these are not just like 5-minute lessons. Sometimes they are 20 minutes plus a quantum journey, plus journaling work, plus all of my tools. Like that stuff goes deep. Okay. So if you want to jumpstart your new year, I'm just saying, we have a powerful option here, and it would be such an honor. It's also the absolute cheapest way to ever work with me and get the most out of it, because I'm literally sharing my deep, deep tools with you that I was only planning to kind of put into my more superior programs, but it just happened. And again, I don't gatekeep. I'm like, let's evolve together so we can grow and live a more beautiful life, experience orgasms, make that cash, like build heaven on earth. So here it is. It's going to be on sale until the 1st of January. I'm going to walk you through this January love, and we're going to transform you into a whole new being. Like, you are going to be initiated into superior creation by yourself first and foremost, because again, if you don't do the work, you're not going to see the outcome. But literally everything you need to know about actualization, superior creation, aka manifestation, but we don't call it that anymore, is in there. I love you so much, and I'm sorry that it took me a while to be back here, but again, I was immersed in my rebirth container and creating this program for you. So I love you so much. I hope to see you next week in the new year. Thank you so much for all your comments. It means the world to me. Like literally, it means the world for me to be here on YouTube and to share with you and to just meet you. Like, I know I don't have this many followers yet, but already this feels like such a tight-knit community, and the ones of you that I met and the ones of you that I worked with have changed my life. Like YouTube has already changed my life. So freaking thank you for that. I love you so much, and I'll see you very soon. I love you.